What's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. Today, we are getting further into the playoff discussion as we have the ALCS and NLCS beginning without the Giants, obviously, but still worth talking about. We have mailbag questions, and Alex has 5 questions from the last playoff round he wants to cover. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Tariff-free savings are happening right now at Mancini Sleep World. Get 40% off top brand mattresses like Sealy and Beauty Rest. Just shop sleepworld.com. Kind of a tongue twister there, Alex. Mancini's has over 3,800 tariff-free mattresses available for free next day delivery, plus 0% APR for 60 months on select mattresses. Alex, let's talk playoffs. Before we get into your big 5 questions, I want to kind of rehash where we are in the playoff world because it was an exciting last few days.
Yeah, this is one of those where it'd be fun to be doing playoff podcasts, but it's also been fun to be on the couch.
So, it would be extremely stressful if the Giants were playing in any of those games I watched in the last round.
Yeah, I guess you think about it from a fan point of view. I think about it from a writer point of view, and it reminded me of 2012. Everyone makes the belt comparisons, but for me, there was at any point that game can end just for 2 hours.
Not just the game, but the series.
Yeah, and so it was. Those ones are tough as a writer because you're the bottom of every inning. You're getting ready to write game's over. Especially if you're a Tigers writer. And then you come back and it's fresh life. So.
Fill me in, Alex. Do you write 2 separate stories in that situation, or do you just completely leave it up in the air until the game's over?
For playoff games, I would have 2 stories going.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast here before. My third year, I guess, was 2014, and I still was kind of am I going to end up at law school somewhere? Where's this all going? And I realized that this was in my blood when there was the misplay in left field and Alex Gordon gets the third. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those where the entire press box just lost it. All the don't react, no cheering went out the window. People were standing and going this is nuts. And I looked to my left and Andrew Bagley's there, and I looked to my right and Henry Schulman's there, and we're all frantically reworking a second story. Mm-hmm. Be ready, and I'm okay, this is what we do. So but those are tough ones. I think they're draining in a different way because you have 2 stories going the whole time. You're constantly updating, and then afterwards, no matter what, you're trying to do it justice. And I sitting on the couch for that, I think it's draining in a whole different emotionally. I get where fans are just I'm exhausted after a game like that. But it's been fun baseball for the last week.
It's been really, really great baseball to not have a real care in who wins either way. Obviously we're rooting against the Dodgers in those games, but especially for the Mariners series, it was you know what? I'm going to sit here and enjoy. I don't have to worry about doing a post-game show. I don't have to worry about writing an article. I don't have to worry about my team being in this. Just going to be along for the ride.
That was what I thought the Mariners Tigers. We don't know a lot of those people. I know Scott. I like Scott Harris. But I don't really have a rooting interest in that series in any way. And don't know a lot of people on either team. We'll get to one of them in a bit, but that was one where I got to just sit back. And the other thing about the playoffs, when you're in it, you're not watching other games really because you're traveling or your workouts or your. So, these are. I hope next year we're preparing for a podcast and you're stressed out and on deadline and all that. But it's been fun to watch the last few days.
It has been. And then obviously in the National League side, it is now locked in Dodgers Brewers. That series begins Monday night. And the big story there that you and I didn't get to talk about was how that Phillies season ended. I can't think of a more heartbreaking way. Obviously, the Giants had their checked swing thing, but even that, I don't think holds up a candle to what happened in the final extra innings of Dodgers Phillies there.
No, that's an all-timer. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say I have a lot of thoughts on the postseason. One of them is everyone kept tweeting out the same image of JT Realmuto. I felt like he had
Pointing.
more demonstrative. Like it's like when the third base coach is just kind of like yeah, go.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a crazy moment. Things happen so fast. Like I wonder if he, in a quiet moment that night, was like, I should have been pointing with both hands, like
Yeah.
going crazy, go to first. But those
I
are
think, yeah, as soon as that was flubbed, I think
yeah,
instinct took over. I cannot fathom being in that situation and how he feels afterwards, but
yeah.
it was hard to watch.
It was. It reminded me of one of my favorite, and I hope people. Unfortunately, like this, a lot of this didn't get into the book, but I hope people every once in a while go back and watch like some of the Giants playoff runs, and not just like the Ishikawa moments, but like the Gregor Blanco, like the what was it, a bunt that was thrown down the right field line, like moments like that. Those are part of every run too. So
Yeah.
and those are almost like more memorable sometimes. So it reminded me a little bit of some of those, like the RTIs that became a thing for
Hmm.
the Giants.
And don't forget
Unfortunately
about
for the Dodgers now.
Brooks Conrad. I mean, the errors for the other team have definitely gifted the Giants stuff in the playoffs. Brooks Conrad had what, 3 errors in one game in that Braves series that
Or
they don't go on without that.
I saw he ended up on my timeline. Someone was engagement farming and like threw him out there, and I'm like, poor guy. He's just
Yeah.
he's just sitting there somewhere, like, and all of a sudden he sees his name comes back up on Twitter. It's like, oh, someone tweeted about me. Oh,
Yep.
it's this highlight.
That the Phillies pitcher, that will be the rest of his life, is worrying about those what is it, Kirkering, worrying about those Instagram posts and engagement pieces popping up for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I will say he handled it phenomenally well. So,
Yes.
and, that's one of our journalist things. You love when someone I watched his post game. I mean, he stood up there and answered the questions and
Hmm.
handled it really well. He's a young guy, so I hope he has really talented guy too. I hope there's better moments ahead for him.
Yeah. So that teed up Dodgers versus Brewers. The good news for Giants fan is that the Brewers swept the Dodgers on the season. So if you're looking for a silver lining for the matchups, the Dodgers have looked like a pretty unstoppable force so far. But this is the team that has history this year of taking them out.
Yeah, 0-6. We said on the last podcast, a team we haven't talked about a whole lot.
Not at all.
They just do like all the little things and run the bases really well, and they have a good bullpen and some good, a couple good starters and some really talented guys in their lineup. But like, it's not like they have the heart of the Dodger lineup, so it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, it was a team that like I think everyone's kind of forgotten about, and they could be in the World Series. They were the best team in the National League, like basically the entire year.
Exactly. Yeah, they could be doing the Giants a big favor here, bragging rights wise.
What are your I know you have Wisconsin in your blood. Like, is this just like an all timer for you? Because you have that connection, and then it's the Dodgers on the other side.
Yeah, this is I am really channeling my inner Wisconsinite. I own a cheesehead. I'm switching back. I don't drink a lot of beer. I'm drinking a lot of beer this series for the Brewers. I'm gonna eat a lot of cheese. I might even go out and get the great state of Wisconsin tattooed on my back if they take this, right next to where I have the state of California.
How far is the old Kuiper farm from Milwaukee?
Pretty far, about an hour and a half. It's closer to Chicago. But it's if that was still in full force, if the farm was still there, I think all the Kuiper brothers would get out there and watch this series together. I know my aunt, who still lives in Wisconsin, has tickets, so we'll be getting photos from the games. And fingers crossed that it all goes well.
Well, I have the Green Bay Packers defense in fantasy football, so I'm doing my part.
Do your part. Everyone listening to this podcast, you are now an honorary Wisconsinite per Cole Kuiper.
Yeah, eat some cheese and Kringle for the next week.
That's right. Go get a Kringle. That we have one upstairs right now. I'm gonna dive into that tomorrow night for the game. All right, Alex. But for our main content for this episode, I want to kind of rehash the last round of the playoffs with you with some kind of Giants-centric and Giants talk-centric questions.
Yeah. We're waiting on a manager, and we're also kind of some of the look ahead stuff. I think we're waiting on the manager and coaching staff to be settled. So
yeah, and for the playoffs to kind of end.
Yeah, so tried to tie some of this to the Giants. I have some questions for you just from watching a lot of baseball last week. My first one is, you're watching that 15-inning game. How many current Giants relievers do you think would have fit in that game of just some of the nastiest, like everyone's throwing 100, everyone from Seattle is throwing like nasty sliders. I think it's an important question for the Giants as they watch some of these games, is like, how many of our current relievers could pitch in one of these games?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. It seems like since they traded Doval, this Giants reliever core isn't really built for the playoffs. They would absolutely be trying to pull the Bumgarner move, and we've seen how that goes for everyone else.
Yeah, it struck me, especially watching that 15-inning game, but really in general, I mean, seeing some of the stuff coming out of these bullpens, and I think it's going to have to be a big part of this offseason is not just rebuilding the bullpen, but like getting some gas back there. Like Randy Rodriguez could have pitched in any one of these postseason games. Camilo's borderline. We saw him with the Yankees as well. I think Rogers in a different way can pitch in a lot of these games.
I mean, Rogers is the guy, but he's not that same prototypical what you're describing at all.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to name current guys because I think a lot of guys made strides last year, but that would be my Giants-related bullpen question is if I'm Buster Posey and Zach Manassian and Jeremy Shelley watching this postseason, is like, how many of our current relievers could do this, or how many of our guys could get there? Like, I could see Birdsong getting there, or like maybe Tidwell. We haven't really seen him. Maybe there's a Carson Seymour jump next year where he's one of these young guys where some other podcasters are watching the Giants and going, who's this guy throwing 99 in the sixth inning of a postseason game? By the way, if you don't follow Carson Seymour on Instagram, he's on a little bit of like an influencer kick, but he's killing it. So
I don't think I do. I'll give him a follow after we wrap this up.
My Giants talk recommendation, he is really doing a nice job with like the free beef people are sending him. Like that. But anyway, that was my first question. And I think the number's very low on how many current Giants relievers I would trust in a game like that.
Yusmeiro Petites do not grow on trees, Alex.
Yeah. And I mean, that's sometimes, that's the answer, but this has struck me for a few years. You just watch these bullpen games and you're like, who is this guy and why is he throwing 101?
Yeah.
And maybe that's Peguero next year or somebody like that. But an important question for the offseason, I think.
Yes. If they want to, obviously the focus is getting to the playoffs, but they want to be a playoff team once we're there next season. Yeah. The bullpen must be fortified.
Yes. And I think there needs to be some, they need to find a way to add a couple big arms to that mix.
Yeah. So. All right. What do you got for question 2?
My second question for you is, given all of the Giants-Mariners trades of the last 5 years, how is it that Luke Jackson was the only old friend I saw in the celebration the other night? I didn't even know he was there.
That's a great question because we've made such a big deal about these Giants-Mariners trades for so long. We always make such an effort to run through the familiar faces, and absolutely nothing. Just shows you the the lack of holdover both from the Giants' recent side and the Mariners' recent.
It just kind of feels like they wasted our time.
Yes.
With all those. So,
I mean, what is the most recent crossover either way? Solano, I think, was a Mariner this year earlier.
Yeah. It was just, I'm looking at that roster and I'm like, how are there no former Giants here? Aside from Luke Jackson, who's been in like 5 different places this year. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, let's bring back the Giants-Mariners trade pipeline. Come on.
Felt like we spent too much time on that. My third question for you, this one was probably in your group chat. I was kind of stunned by all of the people, not just media, but Dodger fans and fans of other teams making a big deal out of Kershaw being left out to dry in Game 3 of the NLDS. Did that make it into your Dodger group chats?
No, honestly, most of my Dodgers fan friends, it's a safe space in my group chats. Most of them are like very much, why is he out there unless he's playing the Giants? They seem to be treating him as like a mascot along for the ride, taking up a roster space at this point. So they're frustrated to begin with, but yeah, as that mascot, there was some frustration that his whole point of being here is to be iconic and be part of the experience, and this is just sullying that for everyone. What's the point?
But I mean, columns were written about this that night. I thought his whole point of being there is to soak up innings because he's a starting pitcher and he's in the bullpen. He's clearly not going to throw high leverage innings because, one, he doesn't have the stuff to do it anymore. Two, he doesn't have the postseason history. So, and I love Clayton Kershaw. He's one of my favorite players of the last 20 years. I've loved him being on the other side of the rivalry. I just didn't really understand why people were so upset about he had to wear it. Somebody has to wear it. And
but remember, this could be his final moment in a Dodger uniform. Any one of these appearances is it. And there's just endless frustration there about how one of your all-time franchise greats goes out.
Yeah, it just seems to me that the best way for him to contribute to this run is to soak up innings in October in playoff games where, they're not high leverage moments one way or the other, so that the Vesias and Sasaki's and those guys can rest on those nights. So anyway,
that's a rational take, obviously, but
I thought
sports fans are not known for their rationality.
A lot was made. I mean, the alternative is him not being on the roster.
Yeah, and maybe that's the answer. If fans can't handle Kershaw being the sponge, the pain sponge, which I don't know why they would want him to be that, then put someone else in that role.
He doesn't have to be this pain sponge, but it's a 7-game series coming up. At some point, he's probably going to be asked to pitch 3 or 4 innings if they're down by 5 runs. And not pitch an inning because you feel bad about his postseason ERA. So anyway, that's true.
I guess it would be different if he already didn't have this postseason reputation, but I guess there's not that much to sully for his postseason stats.
Does anyone know what his postseason ERA is? I have no idea. I
think it's one of the lowest of all time, if I remember correctly.
I bet it's in the who cares? Somewhere. So what if it's 4 point? If he retires at 4.4 or 4.6, who cares?
Yeah,
he's going to go down as the best regular season pitcher of his generation with this postseason resume. So, all right, my next question for you: how hyped do you think Farhan and Gabe were watching the final Cubs Brewers game when each team started an opener?
I would like to think at least one text message was sent between the two of them at the start of that game. Just total vindication.
I don't know if they're on text message terms.
That's fair. That's fair. I guess in my head, I kind of imagine them going out at the same time, but I guess that was a full year gap with one firing the other.
It was an interesting, and Drew Pomeranz, which was fascinating to me because the Giants wanted to use an opener for Drew when he was here. Mm-hmm. And I think he didn't necessarily want to do that. And eventually they put him in the bullpen and he turned into this guy who's still around.
Yeah.
6 years later. But yeah, that's where big game and we have openers on both sides. So I guess I don't mind it, but I think for baseball fans, that's here to stay.
It's easy. You talk about all the articles about Kershaw. That's just become one of those things that you want clicks. Just lean into the opener rage.
Yeah. I also kind of love Milwaukee going with their semi-closer, former closer right off the bat. Here you go. So I don't know what the comparison, if this full Giants team were together, that'd be like Randy Rodriguez pitching the first 2 innings.
Which I kind of love. It sounds like something you do silly in a video game that would just be like, why are you doing that? But hey, let's get through the meat of the order once and then worry about the rest of the game.
It worked. My final question for you, and this is one you and I have talked about a lot. How many tweets were sent out of people victory lapping the Manfred extra innings rule after that 15-inning game without realizing that nobody wants to see this on a Wednesday in July between the White Sox and the Guardians?
Cannot disagree more, Alex. That was real baseball we watched. This postseason has been full of reminders of what they took from us.
You know what would have happened if this happened in a regular season game? We would have had a position player on the mound in the 12th inning.
Absolutely.
And game would have been over. Or they would have gone 15 innings and 3 guys would have been optioned the next day because they threw too many pitches.
Yeah. Or think about the combination. I know we're talking about we're talking about American League Baseball, but think about the combination back before the DH when all those double switches and stuff resulted in Logan Webb at bats and just that funkiness that they stole from us. We used to be a real country, Alex.
those I miss, but the Logan Webb at bats. But other than that, I just continue to think like this is great in the postseason. Glad we're not dealing with this on May 17th.
Now, I understand as a baseball media professional that take. Absolutely. But as a fan, I live for those games.
I think most people go to sleep. So
that's fine.
Yeah.
I will sleep more sound knowing that the baseball game is in the 17th inning if I have to go to sleep.
My guy Manfred, he nailed this one. Those were a lot of baseball the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And just here as a Giants writer watching baseball.
Do you think at all that the fact that they changed that rule for the playoffs is an admission of a flawed rule?
No,
like overall it's fine, but just is that at all nibble away at the back of your head?
I think it's like anything else. Do you know off the top of your head the hockey overtime rules in the regular season? I do not. It's like 5 minutes.
I don't know. I just know like if enough goalies get hurt, someone from the stands gets to play goalie.
Yeah, I think. But then in the postseason, they'll go like 2 hours afterwards. So they'll just keep playing period after period.
So Manfred got to the NHL too?
He's
How dare he?
This is horrible hockey knowledge. I was hoping to be back on hockey this year, and then I watched the way that first Sharks game ended and thought maybe next year.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
Yeah, we'll maybe later in the season.
Yeah, I would be curious to know if our listeners are pretty split 50-50 on the Pavlovic runner, or if they lean closer to your more reasonable side.
Keep coming over here.
Every time the Giants play with the runner on second, I cringe because it seems like every team gets that runner in. Maybe if the Giants were just lights out with the ghost runner, I'd feel different. But I think that is what leads my hatred the most.
I think a lot of Giants fans hate it because like the first year there were some really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. And Tyler Rogers' first greatest has been was just like had some really rough extra innings. And this is not a team that in recent years has hit with a runner on second. So
I would almost rather a runner on first than putting someone in scoring position for some of these Giants lineups.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are some interesting questions for what's going on. I'm sure once this next round wraps up, we'll have another block of questions to address, more baseball content to cover. But that was fun. There have been some very fun games here.
It's been good baseball.
It's been very, very good baseball. All right. I want to get to mailbag questions from our listeners. But first, we have time to squeeze in a little remembering of some guys.
Yeah, we wanted Kevin Pillar. Saw him doing some TV.
Shout out Kevin Pillar. Such a short Giants tenure that made such a unexpectedly large splash with the fans.
An all-time non-tender decision.
Just did not see that coming. The front office was like, whoa.
Yeah, they're like, we're mixing this up. And then this is something I've been meaning to mention for a couple of weeks. This is a deep cut. But when Bob Melvin was first fired, and I'm calling some people around the league asking like who are up and coming managerial candidates. One name I heard, not for this job, but like down the line, someone just knew I'm a Giants beat writer. Was like, remember Guillermo Quiros?
Yeah,
the catcher. He's in the minors now. I think in Birmingham. I want to say he is at where is he? Birmingham Barons. He's in Double-A with the White Sox. Anyway, I heard he's like a well thought of young managerial prospect, and I'm like, we know that guy. Yeah, remember that guy?
He was on one of the World Series teams, right?
I think he might have been after that. I just remember him hitting like a walk-off against the Dodgers or something. But he was briefly a Giant, and so there maybe at some point down the line there's another former Buster Posey backup.
As long as it's a catcher, I think the Giants know that they can do no wrong there.
Yeah, maybe not here probably, but somewhere. So,
all right, let's get to mailbag questions. We have several. I think we're gonna get to 5 today, but first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Tariff-free savings are happening right now at Mancini Sleep World. Get 40% off top brand mattresses like Sealy and Beauty Rest. Shop sleepworld.com. Plus, every purchase is backed by their Rest Easy promise. Mancini's make sure you sleep soundly in every way. That means 365-night comfort guarantee, free next day delivery, plus old mattress removal, and a best price guarantee. All right, Alex, first on our mailbag list is from Brian. Brian says, would you take Cal Raleig's historic season or Buster's 2012 MVP season? Bias aside or not?
Fantastic question.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about how at least I would vote for Cal for American League MVP if I had a vote. I do not. I think to do what he did, catching full time and then DHing like on his off days, is unbelievable. It's a great question. I don't really know the answer to this. I mean, I think Buster's probably the better all around season, and I think one thing that I've thought about at times covering Patrick Bailey is that I don't think we have a great grasp of Buster's defense because he played at the same time as Yadi Molina, and it was just kind of automatic that Yadi gets the Gold Glove every year. And we knew Buster was a very good defender. I don't think we didn't have the metrics that we have now, which I wonder how we would view like prime Buster with some of those metrics, because I would imagine he was off the charts. But yeah, in terms of it, like I think it's a toss-up. I guess I would say Buster's all-around game, but
yeah,
he did hit 336 that year. So
exactly, I have to take the Homer pick. I know people are going to get on me about batting average, but Buster just was out of control that season, and seeing an under 250 batting average, I don't think I can take that over him. But can you imagine the splash hits that would be going on at Oracle Park from Cal Raleigh Jr.?
Yeah, he's been awesome.
He has been so awesome. 60 home runs. Maybe that's it too. Just as a Giants fan, I've seen so many more than 60 all at once that like, no big deal. 60? Call me at 70.
Yeah, they both, I mean, I always kind of lean towards, it's one of those things I would do with voting. Like if it's a toss-up, the catcher gets it.
Yeah.
So,
Buster does nudge him out in WAR by 0.1. So I think that is mathematically the answer.
I don't even remember. Buster beat out Ryan Braun and Andrew McCutcheon. So,
Easy.
Ryan Braun. Yes.
Next,
we know what was happening.
Next mailbag is from Ed. Ed says, with the second half Verlander has had, what are the chances the Giants re-sign him for the next season? And with the lack of run support he got this season, what are the chances he would even want to come back?
I found him to be one of the most interesting people I've ever covered and most like well thought. I mean, somebody who clearly he's been around for 20 years, but just has seen everything and kind of digested everything. So I don't think he would look at this and go like, I'm going to get the same run support next year. This sucks. Like, I think he'd probably, if he re-signed, I think he would probably sit there and if somebody asked him about that, would say like, it'll turn because these things are cyclical.
Yeah.
But I do just really think with him, it's going to be one, I think he's going to have better opportunities, not better than the Giants necessarily, but better than he had a year ago. And two, I do wonder how much he's just going to want to be close to Florida where he lives. And if, a team like the Braves calls and is like, we're going to be right there, or the Phillies or somebody like that. I don't know if they need starting pitching necessarily, but we know it's probably not going to be the Mets. But I don't know if somebody who trains in Florida allows them to do that. I think this season, probably from a family standpoint, was not the easiest.
Yeah. I have a feeling he'll be back. I don't know. I saw the way his face looked in the dugout that whole second half once he started turning it on. I don't know. I have no inside knowledge or no reason, but my gut's telling me Verlander's in the mix next year.
All right. I think there's a lot of interest there from the Giants, especially. Like he was great, and he was great behind the scenes. I mean, he was good on the mound. He was great behind the scenes.
Will says, what does Jung Hoo Lee need to do to meet expectations for his contract? There's a lot of hype going into the season, and he started out incredibly hot. But what are realistic expectations for the jump he needs to make next year? Now, this is a great question because I feel like a lot of blame on the offense was placed elsewhere, and Jung Hoo Lee had a sneaky cold season after missing almost his entire rookie season. And this contract, especially with an opt-out that it's going to sneak up how quickly this gets moving. And he has a lot to live up to.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that stood out to me, areas where he could really improve. 10 stolen bases, I don't think that's going to do it. Like, he was healthy. That's why he's here. He's here to like kind of do stuff. He's not a power hitter. Like he's here to honestly, he's here to hit 300 and steal a bunch of bases in terms of an offensive profile. And I think he hasn't really figured out who he is offensively at the big league level. And then I think the big thing with him, and I don't know that this is a problem they can solve next year, but the defensive metrics were not kind to him. And I think the second half of the year, it didn't look great out there. I mean, he didn't take command a lot when there were close plays, and there were just a lot of balls that dropped around him. So yeah, I think there's work to do. We talked to him at the end of the year, and I believe he dropped like 10, 12 pounds, something like that. Like he's a slim guy, and it was tough for him to kind of keep his strength up over the course of the whole season. So he learned a lesson. Remember, he was hurt his final year in the KBO. He was hurt basically all of his first year here, so has not gone through this before. But we talked about swing pieces for next year. Like he's someone where you're like, yeah, I think you'd hope for a lot more overall from him. I don't think it was a bad year, but just given the contract they gave him and given who they thought he would be, given some of the flashes of talent we've seen, like, yeah, I think it's realistic to hope for a lot more.
So if he's got 4 more years left on this deal, 4 more years of 2025 production, is that like, it's not an albatross, but it's certainly very disappointing from what they would hope for and expect.
I mean, I think he ended up right around 2 wins this year. So it's, it's not an albatross. He's a useful player, but they could certainly use more. And I think the other thing I'd say with him is there's this fan base that's like dying to make him a cult hero.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier when you produce, as opposed to when you're watching a bunch of ground outs to second for weeks at a time. So if he could get going, if he was hitting 320 after 6 weeks next year, like I think it's a real star in the Bay Area. But overall numbers, like they look fine. 31 doubles, 12 triples. A lot of it is where you'd kind of expect, but it just didn't feel like he made a real impact.
I don't know if this is a fair comp, but I looked up Ha-Seong Kim's first year versus his second year. I still kind of consider this Jung Hoo Lee's first year because he missed so much of his rookie year. But just coming from a different league, adjusting to the major leagues, how long does that take? And it's a night and day difference between Ha-Seong Kim's first year and second year after coming over from the KBO. So that gives me hope. He more than doubled his WAR output between 2021 and 2022. That, I don't know if that's the trending line for how long it takes to get used to American big league baseball, then that points to good things, I guess.
I think one thing with Kim, though, is that he just got to play a whole lot more after. And especially, Bob Melvin was a big part of that, just really trusting him. So Jung Hoo has gotten to play a lot.
He has.
And again, he had the year was fine. It's just kind of, I think there's more in there, and I'm curious to see what he comes back as next year.
Yeah. Next question from Kyle. Kyle says, what happened to the torpedo bats? It is crazy to think how much discourse, how much discussion went into these bats right off the bat, and then nothing.
Guys were waiting weeks for them. I talked to Patrick Bailey about this in September at one point. I think only like 3 guys ended up actually using them, even like more than just trying them. Bailey did for a while, Casey Schmidt, I think, Fitzgerald. I think in general, Bailey told me, he's like, I think guys realize that it's not really the bat, it's you. So it's like,
the lore of the bat was built up around the Yankees using them over a stretch where they played against like some of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah. It was one really good weekend at the start of the year. So guys, I think realize they're like, this doesn't change anything. It just maybe is a different style.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the end of the year, I don't know that anyone was using him that often on the
They
Giants.
got a shout out in the late innings of that. I guess the early extra innings of that Mariners game, because I jogged my memory. I was like, oh, wow, a torpedo bat mention.
Yeah.
Crazy. Forgot about those things.
It's just a normal bat now, and I think it's like some guys will be more comfortable with it, but certainly not a game changer.
Yeah. All right. Final question, and this isn't from any one specific person, just kind of a collective question. We've been getting a lot about how the Giants have been connected to Japanese slugger Murakami, who is getting posted and coming over. I've seen Giants tied to him. I've obviously seen the Dodgers tied to him with the pipeline we've had established. Alex, is this real?
The thing about him is the Giants have done a ton of work on him. I believe all of that work, or like 95% of it, was done before the Rafael Devers trade.
Got it.
They have, Zach has been over there a lot the last few years. Buster made a trip over there earlier this year to see some guys. He is a guy that's been on their radar that I've heard about for a couple of years. It was all before Devers. So he's not someone they think can play the outfield. He's a corner guy, maybe a first base DH, and there's two of those here already. So I just don't. I think without the Devers trade, he's probably somebody you and I are doing some deep dives on this offseason. But
yeah,
because of the Devers trade, and I see some people who are like, oh, first base is open for the Giants. No, it's not. Devers likes playing first. So even if you put Eldridge aside, like Devers likes playing first. And
yeah,
he was actually looked like he would be pretty good over time there. So that's where I would go on this. I would imagine he will find much better opportunities somewhere else. Now, maybe this ends up being like maybe the contract's like shockingly small. I don't know. And it's like, hey, just add him to the mix. But I doubt it. I think he's going to find a real job somewhere and a real big contract somewhere. And someone the Giants, I think a lot of those Giants connections are just people who have seen him before it became clear it was Devers and Eldridge.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's a fit. Now, have you heard anything about the Korean infielder Song Seung-mun? Because he's played with Jung Hoo Lee. He's a second baseman primarily and third baseman. That seems like a better fit than adding another first baseman.
Don't have anything like specifically on how interested they might be there. It is an area where they've really tried to put an emphasis in recent years. And you go back to, they were like crushed when Yamamoto said no. Like he was, said no, and I'm going to Los Angeles. So you put Ohtani aside, like this is an area they want to be better. They've actually done a great job in Latin America. If you see what they did with Joswar, they're going to get another great prospect next January. So they've done a great job there. I think they're trying to do a good job in Asia, and we'll see what that all leads to. I wouldn't be shocked if that's part of this offseason as well. And Buster made a trip there early. I think he was there for like a week earlier this year just to start to keep making inroads there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we have for our mailbag questions today. Don't forget to send us any questions you have wherever you can find us on social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. Pop them into the comments on Alex's YouTube videos. We will add them to our bank of questions and answer them. Alex, how are you enjoying off-season life?
It's a lot of fatherhood. So
yeah,
no, it's good. It's good. Everything's good. I've been sending books out to some people. So if people have interest, continue to hit me up on Instagram. That's pretty easy. So just waiting for a manager.
Aren't we all? Well, until that happens, Giants Talk will be here with new episodes. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast to make sure you get the first chance to listen to those. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Get Alex's book, The Franchise, available on paperback. DM Alex if you want help getting a signed copy. Can we think of any other calls to action, Alex?
We'll see everybody on Thursday, unless there's news before that.
That's true. Waiting on the emergency.
Yeah.